You can find some information on the Wikipedia page that lists the Roman legions of the 3rd century AD. There are data on 45 legions formed before, and 36 legions that appeared later. There are 81 legions in total. Each of them has only 5,000 soldiers, plus 300 horsemen and 5,000 servants. In total, there are 551,000 people. As you know, the Western Roman Empire disappeared in the 5th century AD. Moreover, where did the entire Grand Roman Army go? At the time of the collapse of the Roman Empire to the west and east, part of the legions went to Constantinople, not Rome. Thus, the number of legions can be reduced by half at once. However, if the last rulers of Rome had really had about 300,000 soldiers, the empire would have continued to live in peace, without fear of any barbarian invasion. The Roman army under Emperor Trajan had almost as many men as expanded the empire's borders to Armenia and Babylon. Unfortunately, by the beginning of the 4th century AD, not much remained of Rome's former strength. The same list of legions also lists the date of each legion's demise. Some of them suffered heavy losses and were disbanded in 1 AD. In their place, other legions were created with the same number, but with different names. The maximum number of legions that existed simultaneously dates back to 212 AD, when there were 33 of them. The legions of the late empire were divided into comitates, regular units, and limitans. They were not full-fledged combat formations, but parts of the territorial defense, protecting only the areas, borders, of limes. You will notice that in the year of dissolution column, many of the first legions, before the 3rd century AD, have dates that date back to the 4th or 5th century, and many of the dates of the new legion's dissolution are referred to as unknown. During many civil wars, rebellions, and barbarian invasions over the centuries, many Roman legions disappeared without a trace. Not just because they were wiped out to the last person, it was very rare. The splintered legions disintegrated in the same way as in previous centuries, but no information about this has been preserved. In addition, after the defeat, the rebel legions were disbanded. At the same time, in the 5th century, there was another important factor directly related to the disappearance of the Roman legions without a trace. Most of them were still Roman only officially, formally. After Caracalla's decree of 212, all the inhabitants of the empire, despite their origin and even knowledge of the Latin language, were officially recognized as citizens of Rome. From now on, any barbarian lucky enough to be on the Roman side of limes could serve in the legion, not in the allied auxilia. After some time, due to the acute shortage of native Romans willing to serve in the army, any barbarian was accepted as a legionnaire, regardless of their place of residence. Only the metropolitan praetorians were Roman. The peripheral legions were mostly barbarians. A career in these units could be quick. Odoacer joined the Roman service in 470, and 6 years later commanded the super-elite guard of the emperor himself. Nevertheless, this did not seem enough to him. He forced the last ruler of the Western Roman Empire to give up the throne and proclaimed himself King of Italy. So how did this happen? Where did the Roman patriots look? Unfortunately, the patriots of Rome were everywhere but in the army. By that time, even the legions of the capital in Rome were not allied barbarians, but most of the mercenaries of German origin. All the other military units of the remnants of the empire were either barbarians or dead. For example, the usurper Constantine III drove out the Roman legions in England. They captured Gaul, but were defeated by the troops of another candidate for the throne, Jovinus. During the well-known Battle of the Catalaunian Fields, the forces of the Goths and Romans, the latter numbering about 25,000 men, confronted the Huns. But in fact, in the army of the last Roman, Flavius Aetius, there were only Roman commanders. For example, the front line of Roman troops consisted of Franks. After the capital was sacked by Vandals, all the warring Roman units went to Ravenna, where the emperor's court was located. In 476, Ravenna was attacked by German mercenaries of Odoacer. Some of the Romans went over to his service, the rest went home. The empire had ceased to exist, and the legions were gone.